You've had a lot of special days at Oklahoma. How does this rank among all of them?
Well, it's got to be amongst the best because each and every time we do something like this, we elevate one of our programs. And most importantly, what we're trying to do is put our student athletes in a position to be even more successful. And that's why we have a vision. We try to create a state-of-the-art facility for them, whatever sport that they're in, and understand what they're trying to do, develop their special gifts and talents. And there is something to be said for what it makes a person feel like when they are in a place that is completely focused on their own personal development. And so I'm really happy for them and the coaches that are teaching and guiding them.
You saw all the renderings, but what were your first impressions when you saw the finished product?
It's not a complete shock because obviously I'm over here walking through the building on various stages. But when you get all the finishing touches and it sort of brings the building to life a little bit more, then there's a chill that goes up a spine for sure. And I just, you never can, take any of this for granted, and I don't, and I certainly know our staff doesn't, and our university appreciates everybody that comes together to make one of these kinds of facilities. For a long time, you could walk past, many of you have come to cover games, you probably parked on the very dirt this building is sitting on, and think about what could have been envisioned, for this. And they all, think about the iterations that you have to go through to get it to happen. There's financial, there's design, there are politics, there are priorities, there's all kinds of other factors, and those all have to be navigated. And so for us, we think about just what it's going to take to get to the finish line and get it done the right way. And so when I see it, I just have a combination of both excitement and really just a thrill for those that are going to use this. And then I have to tell you that, and I said it at the podium, that I really mean it, and we've said it many times when we opened the south end of the stadium, the Switzer Center, that this facility is obviously first and foremost for our current and future student athletes, but it's also the players' house. And many of our student athletes that have come here previously have left a good legacy, something that upon which we're building today's success. And so all of the players that are on or trying to make rosters in the NBA, the G League, internationally, we want them to come and use this when they're back in Norman. And whatever it is, if they're rehabbing an injury, if they're just trying to keep up with their conditioning, whatever it is, get in here. They had that freedom when we designed the practice facility. We made it where our student athletes can come in there at any time of the day or night. They have their code to get in the building. They walk over, pop in the music, turn on the lights, and they have the practice court there. We want them to feel like they can use this too, because they helped make it possible, not just by their financial generosity, but the great legacy of success that they left.
Blake said last night that kind of the idea for this started several years ago. I think he said on 4 sheets of paper, and you talked about renderings on napkins and such. I mean, what were those initial conversations between you like?
It was trying to see if he would be willing to help us bring a vision to life. And we wanted it not to be interpreted as him just going along with our vision. We wanted him to participate in making that vision even better and taking the experiences that he's had. He's a very meticulous preparer, and so we knew how much he has learned in all of the travels, from leaving here at Oklahoma and going through really a tough knee injury in his first year, making a tremendous comeback to become an all-star NBA player, to seeing all the different ways that sports science intersects with training and preparation, recovery, and gaining all that knowledge. I mean, think about this for a second. Here we are, we're preparing student athletes for maybe 35 games a year, maybe if the way things go, could be as many as 38 or so. for an NBA player, they're playing 86, and then, if they're good enough, they're getting into the NBA playoffs, and it remains to be seen how many more games they play. So you think about the focus that they have on taking care of one's body, both through the little nicks and knacks of injuries that can come up during the course of a regular season, but the travel, the way that they have to play back-to-back nights, all the kind of things. NBA has now a lot of analytics that they use, for their players on how many minutes they're playing and all of those kinds of things. We wanted to take that particular evolution in the sports development and bring it to this facility, and we have. And that's what we were talking about back then. And obviously, we needed his support financially if we could get it and be able to create that kind of challenge to get other people involved to make this dream a reality. And so we used all of that in the design and the development of this facility and getting us to today.
Of all the things in here, what's the thing that most excites you? Is there any particular one feature that you were blown away by, or when you guys were talking, or?
Well, I have to say the way that all of it is connected with each other. There's a purpose behind everything that has been put in here, where it's been put, and how our strength and conditioning folks utilize it in the course of their day-to-day workouts, whether it's off-season, in-season. I think the ability to customize workouts for each and every student athlete, their body type, their position, their skill set, their natural tendencies, those kinds of things, that exists. The one thing that I'm still trying to figure out, however, is the force plates that are in the court over there. I understand what they are doing now, and I understand what they're intended to be used. But what I'm trying to do is to channel that incredible power that Blake Griffin has in his legs through that force plate into all of our student athletes. I don't know, it's a very short list of any player we've seen in modern times jump like Blake Griffin can jump. I mean, there's a few, obviously Michael Jordan, there maybe Vince Carter, and there's a few up-and-comers, of course, but I don't think that anybody has ever shown the power in the legs that Blake Griffin has. So that's what it's got me more intrigued than my favorite. I'm going to have to channel Blake Griffin's leg energy through those force plates into our student athletes. You buying that? No, I didn't think so.
As far as recruits or parents, people who have been here, what has been the reaction from them who've had a chance to see it early on?
Just look at a face when they walk in. The eyes are wide as saucers, their mouth is agape. The wows, they can't believe it, blown away, incredible. And they immediately start imagining what they the prospective student athlete could do with this kind of training center and preparing them to be an even better player. So those are the takeaways you get right away, and obviously that's what we sought, because our ultimate vision for our program is to have the University of Oklahoma become the preferred destination for student athletes to become champions in their sport, in the classroom, and ultimately in life. And so we want to be able to have these kind of state-of-the-art facilities that not just attract them, but more importantly, help them develop.
Blake said that a lot of this stuff can be transformed and that we can change a lot of the equipment in here. Is that something that you guys prioritized, and did that have something to do with past projects maybe that didn't have that?
I think, John, it's a great question, and yes, it did, because one thing we've learned, it doesn't stay the same for very long. And the part that we imagined, I guess to borrow a Disney term, we had a lot of Imagineering that went into a facility like this, just like the Transformed Switzer Center, that whatever we do now, it has to be adaptable to what the world will change. We don't envision a day where we have to go build another building. We wanted to make this adaptable. And so, the space is very open and comfortable, so we can move the best equipment and the way that the development regimens change, so we're very efficient in the training. That is one thing I'm absolutely certain is happening, is more and more efficiency in the training. It's not the length, it's the quality. And that's why I said earlier today that we're not into transactional. We get it, it's a lot of what people do in their life is a direct correlation to the amount of work that they invest in their dream. And there's no way you can change that. That's always going to be the case. But for what we can do here, the amount of time that we have with our student athletes, that continues to get shorter and shorter, and that's not a bad thing, but we want to make sure that we are doing the most we can with them in that amount of time, so helping on their efficiency. And I thought Anna's comments were really good along that line.
On that, what are kind of the new goals for Lloyd Noble Center and possibly a new arena?
Well, that is something we've been talking about here and there. I know that's been a topic. We actually have a master plan for Lloyd Noble Center. It's not inexpensive, however. We're talking about a building that's now above 45 years old. It's strong. It's structurally sound. It's obviously very functional. We plan to, have the Lloyd Noble Center for many years to come. The master plan has more to do with the ever-changing interest, needs, requirements of fans, what they're expecting in their venues. And so our master plan is quite extensive. It does change the dynamics of Lloyd Noble. I really like the plan. It's just that, we're not in a position with the current economy in Oklahoma to move forward. It's well in excess of $100 million to renovate that facility so it becomes state of the art. But having said that, it's still very good. We're just trying to acquiesce to, what people want. Well, let's face it, people are going to Chesapeake Arena, whether they're Thunder fans or whether they go to concerts, they see, what the current state-of-the-art venues are offering, and we're trying to put certain things in that building as we can, but the way the space has been designed, we're limited, and we want to keep people coming to the games, and so obviously our goal is geared toward that. Most importantly, our goals are in order of priority, and that is to do what's best to put our student athletes in a position. Because if you forget that, the rest does not matter. So first and foremost, it's always going to be how we help put them in the best position to be successful, and that's always going to be our number one priority.
How much talk is there of the off-campus facility? Is that still in the works?
Yes, it's still being discussed. We've had some signals from the city government, and we're now talking about some other opportunities that might present itself. We just working behind the scenes to see what that might mean going forward. I'm not at liberty to get into any other kind of detail, but it still remains an active subject as far as we're concerned. There's no timetable. Obviously, there are some other elements, that all have to come together, and just, again, like I said earlier, we're talking about a much smaller project, but all the different people, the priorities, the financial resources, the interest, the passion, the timing, all has to align correctly for something like that to happen. So we'll just continue to keep it alive and talk through what needs to happen, to make it a reality. Again, I want to say it's not ever been about just an arena. That's not our interest. It's an opportunity that came before us. We were asked if we'd be interested, and they presented an opportunity to be part of a much bigger live, life, work, play concept, which included an entertainment district. It was something that was very progressive for Norman. We thought we could be, great partners in the greater good of what's best for our citizens of Norman and Cleveland County. How this new entity could complement what's going on in downtown Oklahoma City. You know, you've heard and read all of the different things we've said. And, you know, there's still a lot of people that are excited about something like that for Norman. So we'll just wait and see how things evolve. You know, it's like a game. Sometimes, you know, you just got to hang in there and, you know, keep battling and see how it turns out. Right now, we've got a place to play. We're not going anywhere. So it's nothing that we're going to do except continue to, you know, make it a great experience for everybody involved.
Not that Lon's going to leave anytime soon, but there'll come a time where he'll want to step away. How much more attractive does a facility like this make the OU basketball job?
Well, that's certainly a factor, and it's more attractive for recruiting. And, you know, we talk about focusing on what's best for student athletes, but no doubt about it, this is also about recruiting, because, you know, you can talk about family, you could talk about commitment, you could talk about all these things as much as you want, unless there's something tangible for people to see. You know, it doesn't really settle in quite like you would hope. Now, we had to get people to believe this would happen someday when we started putting the vision out on paper. You know, this is back when, gosh, I think probably Ryan and Buddy and Isaiah and that group were maybe going into their junior year. And the discussions actually started before that. And, you know, we were talking to them about it, and they were all excited, but they said, you know, it's great, but it's not going to happen while I'm here. So they didn't quite, you know, get it, but they've been back to see it. Now they get it. You know, I saw Buddy's face when he walked in here, and I know Spang has been through here. Isaiah's not here this weekend, but I think he was here this summer. And of course, you know, Trey was here through the construction last year, so he knew about it and could see it coming out of the ground. But, you know, you've got to get people to believe it's possible. You have to believe it yourself, you know, so we don't get out there and create some kind of, you know, imagine, you know, whatever you want to call it, some fake idea if it's not possible. Sometimes it just takes a while for it to come to fruition, and, you know, that's what we needed to work through here. And for Coach Kruger and our coaching staff, you know, they see what they're recruiting against. Prospective players come in and ask, and you could tell them we have this in the works, but until they actually see something tangible, you know, they're not going to completely believe it. We had that through the Switzer Center. You know, they had to see the renderings finally come out to get a picture in their mind of what that was going to be. Then when they started walking through it, then they were completely blown away. So now this is just part of the evolution. Now, most importantly, we got to find the ways to make this possible, the best, utilize it in the best way.
Are you rocking the Jordans right now?
What's that?
Are you rocking Jordans?
I sure am. They're called futures. How appropriate. You know, it's all, you know, as an AD, you always have to be trying to find the ways to, you know, look, you know, down the road, where we're going next. You know, our program has to be, you know, 3 and 4 and 5 steps ahead. You know, you have to think that way if you're going to make that reality happen. And for us, it's been very intentional about our futuristic thinking. So when I saw these shoes, I said, "Hey, I get those kind of work." You know, and so people, when I walked up this morning, people they were looking down at my shoes. I said, "What are you looking at?" I said, "Those are Jordan Futures." I said, "How did you know?" I said, "I know everything about Jordan shoes." People were coming up to me asking that. Just crazy how this brand is, you know, followed. I was just laughing. So I thought, you know, whatever. I've got to find the kind that work with a little dressier attire. You know,
a closet full of them now? Or?
Oh, not full. No, I think I have 4 pair. Yeah, 4 pair. Yes, a starting point. You know, I need to talk to Michael about making some that work with with more of a business attire. You know, so the ones I have actually can work. You know, I found some that I can wear with a suit. So I'm just kind of working at identifying where those are.